Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer, thanks to Max Sparrow for this one, who also tells me that this situation also belongs to the True Stories collection. Amy plays a Watcher for Tomorrow, while Nick controls a Plague Engineer whose named type is Humans. What happens? In particular, does Amy get to get the card that she hid away back into her hand? Okay, so in order to answer this question, I'm going to go through everything that happens step by step. First of all, the Watcher for Tomorrow is going to enter the battlefield, which is of course going to cause its hideaway triggered ability to trigger. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that triggered abilities don't go on the stack immediately after they trigger. Rather, the game follows this procedure. First, the fairies who are in charge of triggered abilities will make a note that that triggered ability is triggered on their special whiteboard. It doesn't go on the stack until the next time a player would get priority though, at which point the game first performs all state-based actions and then takes all the triggered abilities that are on the whiteboard and puts them onto the stack, and then the player who's about to get priority to cast a spell or activate an ability actually does get it. So let's follow through that procedure and apply it to the situation that we have in the problem statement that was discussed before. So after that triggered ability is triggered, the game is going to check to see if there's any state-based actions that need to happen. And of course, there is one. The Watcher for Tomorrow has 0 toughness, so the game puts it into its owner's graveyard. Now, that of course would involve the Watcher for Tomorrow leaving the battlefield, which means that its other triggered ability will now trigger. Let's note that both of the triggered abilities of Watcher for Tomorrow are on the whiteboard at this point. Neither one has been put onto the stack. However, that's the next step that's going to happen in the process. So, if Amy controls 2 triggered abilities that both need to go on the stack at the same time, obviously that doesn't really work very well with the idea of a stack. So she, the person who controls those triggered abilities, is the one who gets to decide what order that they go on. So Amy actually has a choice here, and that choice is going to affect what the end result is going to end up being. If Amy is a savvy player, she's going to make it so that she hideaways first, and then afterwards she gets to return the card that she hid away. This is possible even though it doesn't correspond to the order that the triggered ability is triggered in. Amy has a free choice when she's putting them on the stack, and so this is definitely a valid option for her. On the other hand, if Amy chooses the opposite order, then the first triggered ability to resolve is going to be the leaves the battlefield one that instructs her to return the exiled card to her hand. Unfortunately, there's going to be a little bit of a problem. There is no exiled card for her to return to her hand yet, and so that means that triggered ability is going to do absolutely nothing. And the hideaway triggered ability is going to resolve afterwards, and she's going to get to exile a card, but there's not normally going to be any way for her to return it to her hand. So that's the answer to the original question. If Amy stacks her triggers in the correct order, she will be able to get the card that she hid away. Otherwise, she won't be able to, and it'll just stay exiled forever. Now, Nick probably knows all about this, and he's probably wondering if there's something that he could do in order to fix it so that Amy doesn't get this card. And, well, as long as he has that Plague Engineer out, that's going to be a pretty tall order. If a state-based action is causing the Watcher for Tomorrow to be put into the graveyard, there's not going to really be any way that he can interact with that process in such a way that would change the result from what we just discussed. However, let's say that Nick does not have a Plague Engineer. He just has some instant speed removal spell. Is there a way for him to deploy that Doomblade against the Watcher for Tomorrow in such a way that Amy does not get the hideaway card? Indeed, the answer is yes. In order to see exactly how this happens, let's remember what we talked about before, where if we can manage to get into a situation where the leaves the battlefield trigger resolves first and then the enters the battlefield trigger resolves after that, then that's going to be the situation that Nick wants, and Amy is not going to get the card back in that case. So, is there a way that Nick can maneuver into that sort of situation? And indeed there is. After the hideaway triggered ability has gone onto the stack, then it's going to be a triggered ability on the stack, which means that you can respond to it with instant spells and activated abilities just like any other type of triggered ability. So if Nick uses that opportunity to play his Doomblade against the Watcher for Tomorrow, then the Doomblade is going to resolve first, and the Watcher for Tomorrow is going to be put into Amy's graveyard, which would cause its leaves the battlefield triggered ability to trigger. Its enters the battlefield triggered ability is still on the stack now. And so that would mean that when the fairies take that triggered ability for leaving the battlefield off of the whiteboard and put it onto the stack, it's going to be above the triggered ability that hides away a card. And that means it's going to resolve first, which is exactly the situation that Nick wanted. And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. But until then, I hope you have a great day.